host, April. This is Mama Eagle coming to you from the Eagle's Nest. Those of you that don't know me, I am the founder of Ancestral Mediation and Earth Wisdom Reiki. I'm also the author of Ancestral Mediation, a book that just helped to free a second Marine. So, if there are any active duty or veterans, even civil service watching this, our hearts and our gratitude go out to all of you. So, on top of it being a new month, I was doing some research before I got on here and was told specifically to use these decks and specifically to not show my face in this reading. So, you guys are used to, seeing me on camera, my bright smile, etc. But I was told to do things a little bit differently right now. And the title of this reading is appropriately Lions, Tigers, and Bears. Oh my, because it is getting to be a circus out there. So before I get into that, we have April coming up tomorrow, April 1st, aka April Fools. And make sure you're going to prank people, stay away from the pregnancy tests. Don't call in any emergencies. Keep it fun, but keep it pono as well, as they would say in Hawaii. So April is Garden Month, Poetry Month, Child Abuse Prevention Month, Minority Health Awareness Month, Autism Awareness Month, SA Awareness Month, Donate Life, which gives me goosebumps remembering when I did the Share the Beat event with Jamie Redford and his dad, Robert Redford. May he rest in peace and blessings to the family. And we've also got Parkinson's Awareness Month. So, uh, uh, how do you say? My son in law was telling me earlier that the name April for the month of April comes from the word appeare, which means, sounds like appear, right? Like people that you love are going to appear right in front of you. Miracles are going to appear right in front of you. Everything you need. I mean, we're in Aries season right now. So, shout out to all my Aries. Happy birthday to all my Aries. If you scramble the letter in Aries, you get arise. So, April is the month that we are meant to arise and shine. But aprile actually means opening. So there is an opening of the heart, an opening of the mind. They say minds and hearts are like parachutes, they function best when open. So I just heard somebody say, Semper Fi, hoorah! Okay, I gotcha. Um, I just saw somebody getting on the horn, right? Getting on the phone. Hey, there's this person doing these things with cars. She says she frees a second Marine. Anybody know who she's talking about? In case y'all don't know, I am clairaudient, which means I hear conversations at a distance. It's not a scary thing, it is a blessing, and I use it to help as many people as possible. So, that being said, lions, tigers, and bears, oh my. In case you are not aware of these cards, this is the medicine card deck by Jamie Sams and oh dear, I can't remember the other one. I'll have to look it up later. But I have had 3 sets of these cards in my life. That's how amazing they are. The first set was gifted to me when I was managing a homeless shelter. I was working with somebody named Mato Tewakan, who was a um, elder with the Cherokee Good Medicine Society. He had been gifted his name by my grandpa, Wallace Black Elk, when he was like 6 years old in front of a Hopi council. So we are never guided anywhere, sent anywhere, brought anywhere without higher purposes, especially when it comes to a medicine journey, as I'm hearing a pair of red-tailed hawks singing outside behind me. So red-tailed hawk is the bringer of good news, protector of women and children. So you may have some good news coming towards you. I just heard MMIW, which is the abbreviation for Missing Murdered Indigenous Women and Children. So if you are a part of that, sharing awareness, I feel like you're going to have a breakthrough in a investigation. There goes my throat chakra. Been getting messages, for a long time that I needed to include this in the reading. I feel like somebody is going to be reaching out, somebody's going to be calling. You're going to have tears of joy coming in. So just, be prepared. I feel like it's going to be good news. I feel like I'm going to cry. I am crying. Somebody gave up or almost gave up. Somebody's loved one it has been missing. I feel like it's a little girl. And you've been putting out posters, you've been calling people, you've been doing all these things and crying on your knees and just every ounce of strength that you have left. And I feel like you're going to get that call. You're going to get that news. I've been helping MMIW for the past 20 years. I was taught how to find missing people by George Darby, who was a Choctaw elder. He was also with New Orleans PD, Los Angeles PD. Amazing, amazing guy. He's in spirit now, but he still helps. So if somebody is watching this and you have somebody missing and it's a little girl, seeing somebody young, like white dress, long hair, brown hair, just being scooped up, being found, being scared, but being okay, being scooped up by an officer or somebody and just brought to the family. So whoever you are, I'm going to keep trying to tune into that off here so that it keeps it private. My email is in the description of the video. So if you guys, want to reach out to me in confidence, see if I can give you, any more details, go into ceremony, go into prayer. Like I said, there's a lot going on right now. These cards are not just cards, it's medicine. And where I come from, medicine doesn't mean Tylenol and that kind of stuff. No shade on people that, are taking Tylenol or whatever, but it means something that you can bring, into your spirit that's going to help your path for other people. And, if you look at these cards, like I said, I've had 3 sets of these cards because, they either get so old that they're falling apart because I use them to find missing people. I use them to help congressional candidates. I use them to help free the second Marine at the last possible second, Um, they're medicine. I teach people when you work with these cards that the name that's on it is important, the animal that there's a beautiful book that comes with it, and they have descriptions in the book, things like that. But at the same time, it's about what you feel. Sometimes I tell people, if you're looking for an answer with your eyes and you can't see with your eyes, there's a lot of smoke wafting around right now, fog, that kind of thing. Close your eyes and look with your Chante Ishta, which is the one true eye of your heart, and you will feel, what the message is. So when we look at these cards, this is the spread is called an Egyptian star. And it brings in the knowledge of the star people. I call Ampo Ichapi, which is morning stars, also Venus. So those of you that follow astrology, Venus just went what's called Kazimi, and it highlighted more aspects of the morning star. The morning star is represented as 2 equal points of light in all 4 directions. So it is the balancing of masculine, feminine within, it's the balance of masculine, feminine without. It's everybody shining our light in whatever direction is needed to bring healing for Mother Earth and all her children. It's a powerful time right now. Neptune just went into Aries, and we just had, that powerful eclipse. So, let me back up a little bit here. The new moon that we had was, the lunar eclipse was the full moon. So that full moon was helping people to release things. Then we have our solar eclipse, our new moon in Aries, all our beautiful relatives, the Aries energy, fire energy, the ram, the falcon. coming in, lifting people above and beyond, igniting passions. Mercury's retro in Aries, so, it's sometimes a good idea to write things down before you communicate them to someone so you don't barbecue anybody. Unless you're one of those signs that can kind of withstand the Aries fire. My Anamkara is an Aries, so I think I graduated that course a while ago, and couldn't have freed the first Marine or the second Marine without him. So, got to give props to him too. He's actually overseas right now, so I won't mention his name. Maybe a little bit further down the road. But there's a lot of fire right now. There's a lot of passion that's being ignited, and it's not a bad thing. This is not a forest fire that's out of control. Which is a good thing since we don't have any park rangers right now. But it is the fire within. It's the Kundalini being activated. It's Shakti and Shiva. It's the balancing that's coming back together that has existed since the beginning of time, even before we know it. So, if we look at these animal spirits that are represented, hi everybody. I don't know how to type a message to you on here, so I'm just going to keep going with the reading, but I wanted to acknowledge and thank you for your support. If we look at the animal spirits that are here, every one of these animal spirits exist in a harmony of masculine, feminine, and each has a role. Sometimes, the masculine is more brighter colored than the feminine to protect the feminine. My grandpa would talk about love as being a journey where, sometimes if you're walking up a trail, it's important for the masculine to walk behind in case the feminine falls, or sometimes the feminine is going to walk behind so the masculine can clear the trail. Sometimes the trail is wide enough that they can go forward together. So, we can buy books and all this other stuff, and learn lessons, but tapping into our ancestral wisdom, whether our ancestors come from Alaska or they come from Zimbabwe, that A to Z and everything in between is sacred. There's no accident where your ancestors came from. Not even when you look in the mirror, you see their features that are there to remind you of who they are and where they came from, because those ancestors were praying for your success 7 generations ago. They knew that it wouldn't be easy, but they knew that you would succeed, you would evolve, you would adapt, you would overcome, you would succeed for the good of Mother Earth and all her children, because that's why we're here. We're not here to destroy creation. We're here to protect creation and help it to evolve. So when we look at these cards, the first card, some people would say, oh, you got to go in order. And if you did go in order, the lizard would be first, the dragonfly, then the whale, the spider, and the swan. And then you've got the 3 cards in the middle that represent past, present, and future. That's what an Egyptian star is. However, I happen to be a triple Aquarius, Dakini, etc. And just like how I teach the cards, I go with the ones that are highlighted the most. So the card that's highlighting the most to me before I started the reading was the card of yes. The reason I'm saying that is because a lot of people felt like they were being told no. I'm getting like, starting January, right? No, no, you can't do this. No, you can't say that. No, you this. No, 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 right? Well, now what's happening is you're telling yourself yes. And I don't mean that in a, devil may care kind of thing. I mean it that you're telling yourself, yes, yes, I deserve peace. Yes, I deserve abundance. Yes, I deserve good health. Yes, I deserve this, that, and the other, right? And in April, you are aligning yourself to arise and shine. That doesn't mean that you have to blow out anybody else's candle in order to make yours brighter. It just means, maybe you light 2 candles. If you're on a twin flame journey, you know exactly what that means, right? So, those of you that are on that twin flame journey, if you have any questions, I've been on a real twin flame journey for quite some time. working with Tibetan monks, etc. And when you connect with tantric meditation and yoga and so forth, I mean, it's just beautiful. It's a beautiful journey. It's not always easy, but it's always blessed from start to completion and everything in between. So the card of yes. How are you saying yes to yourself? If you're tired, are you allowing yourself to rest? If you're scared, are you allowing yourself to sit with something until you realize that the word scared and the word sacred are the exact same letters that just got jumbled? If you're not sure about something, are you allowing yourself to go within and to meditate and to listen to your ancestral wisdom until you are sure about it? Or until you magnetize something that feels more sure to you? Once you tell yourself yes, you tell the universe yes. You watch as everything aligns with grace, ease, joy, and least effort for the highest good of all. So, the first card that we're starting out with here is Lizard. And Lizard represents the dream time. And, a lot of us through the eclipse, we've been having prophetic dreams, we've been having lucid dreams, we've been having what my grandpa would call medicine dreams. You can hear the car in the background, things are revving up, right? So, a medicine dream is a little bit different than a lucid dream. A medicine dream is where you can feel the ground, you can hear things, you can smell things. I think I'm forgetting a sense, but your five senses, right? And then some. And what a medicine dream does is it shows you the best path forward for the time that you're able to wake with the courage to walk through that door. So it opens the door in a good way when you're ready, and it, shows you how good it's going to feel to help or how good it's going to feel to talk to someone or what have you. And then, when you wake up, it's like creator helps those who help themselves. So when you wake up, you pick up your phone and you text that person you dreamt of, or, you go and you check on that elder that was in the dream that you were worried about, or, you sign up for a class that's going to help to better your life. You connect with other people that are in communities, that sort of thing. Lizard is also about adaptability. Lizard is a 9. Now, when I look at this card and it says 36 on it, what I see is 369. So, anybody that's familiar with Nikola Tesla, the Tesla frequencies, that would be a good frequency for you to listen to right now. It's going to open things up, it's going to align things, it's going to align you with good people who have your best interest at heart. 369. We have the 369 manifestation technique where you write things down 3 times, 6 times, 9 times. That's also very powerful and effective. If anybody wants to learn more information on that, again, my email is in my bio description. Feel free to email me and put 369 in the subject matter. My email is EaglesNest411 at AOL.com. Yes, I know I'm old school, Generation X, but what works is what works. So that's another message. What works is what works. Meaning, as you see things working, you're on the right path. So I'm sitting here and I'm, connecting with you amazing people. And, I'm seeing numbers that are popping up on my little counter, like 411, which is good news, that sort of thing. So pay attention to numbers. Some people call them synchronistic numbers, some people call them angel numbers. Again, whatever works is what works. So you're starting out with that lizard, which is, adapt and overcome. If you have any friends of yours that are, Spec Ops, Navy SEALs, MARSOC, the whole 9 yards, they know exactly what those phrases equate to. Sometimes you're dropped in unfamiliar territory, you assess your situation, you look at your resources, how best can you get from point A to point B for the good of all, and that's the route that you take, right? If there's an obstacle, again, adapt and overcome. Others of you may not have reference for that, but maybe you play video games, right? Same thing. So you're never given a dream without also being given everything you need for that dream to become a reality. So matter always flows from spirit, right? When you see a dream, whether it's going to school, whether it's moving to a new place, whether it's, reconnecting with, I just heard a lost flame, you're going to be shown what you need from that point forward. So when we start in the corner with lizard, that's our question. Okay. So then we're moving diagonal. We're not moving up and down. We're not moving back and forth, except for the phone, because I don't have one of those stands for it yet. It's coming, so bear with me, right? But we're moving diagonal, and diagonal is a direction that most people would not expect. So you may need to move in a direction that most people would not expect. If you've been experiencing bullying, if you've been experiencing, even just people trying to pop holes in your balloon, or the bigger aspect of people thinking it's okay to send others to hell in a handbasket, or a country to hell, whatever. Not a good thing, okay? Because the sacred always wins. So when you align with the sacred, guess what? You win. And it's funny because the word win just happens to be the shortened version of Wian, which means woman in Lakota. So as we honor the feminine within, as we honor the feminines around us, especially the life givers, guess what? We all win. So, Dragonfly, the first card lizard is your question. Your main concern is the card we're going to now, which is Dragonfly. Okay. Dragonfly is a 27, which is another nine. So you may be seeing a lot of nines. Nines represent completion that leads to new beginning. You know, you may have had something significant happen last September. Dragonfly represents magic. And if you've ever seen a dragonfly, you have to be in, I just heard the word childlike wonder. You have to be in a space of childlike wonder where you're tapped into your inner child, you're open to magic, you're open to possibility, and what do you see next to you? This amazing little being that just zips in, zips out. Their wings reflect rainbows. I mean, it's just powerful, powerful stuff. Now, the word for dragonfly in Japanese is tombo. And if you look at the center of the word tombo, you've got Om, which is the card that is at the base of our reading. So I will get to that in a minute. But everything is interconnected. Now, what this is telling me is that somebody watching this right now got a sign, okay? And it was an unmistakable sign. It could have very well been a dragonfly. You could have seen somebody with a dragonfly tattoo. You could have dreamt of a dragonfly. You could have been at a koi pond and seen a dragonfly, land on a lotus blossom. You may have a relative that's fascinated with dragonflies or whatever it is. It's not about how the message is delivered. It's about why. It's focusing on the why. So, you're saying yes to the universe, and now you're focusing on why. Why is this sign appearing now? What's so important, not just for your journey, but for the collective, right? For the good of all. So again, whatever sign that you were shown, most likely you went to sleep last night with a question in your heart. You had some kind of a dream. You may remember, not remember. Maybe it's a little bit fuzzy. Maybe you remember bits and pieces. So these cards, what they do is they help to put you in a state where you're connecting with your heart so you can piece the rest and best together. So from Dragonfly, where you're knowing that there was a sign, and now you're needing to understand why, we're going to go over to Whale, okay? Whale is the number 41, which is a 5. 5 can represent conflict, or it can represent a greater understanding. Anybody that's ever, been whale watching or listened to whale frequencies on YouTube, etc., it's powerful energy, it's ancient energy. And I can't zoom in too much without losing focus on the cards. But if you zoom in on that little white speck that's by the whale's fluke, which is also called the tail, that white speck is the morning star. And we just were talking about that. Venus, Amboe Chapi, however you want to call it, it's all the same thing. Okay. So what whale does is whale represents soulmate. It represents someone that you are on the same soul frequency with. Now we've not only got, our question, which is how do we adapt and overcome? We've got a sign that was already gifted to us, and now we're looking into why. We're going deeper, right? So, whale goes all the way beneath the surface and comes up when it needs air, okay? So, Venus, the morning star, is representative of love and abundance. So, this soulmate that you're about to connect and or reconnect with is an ally, is what I'm hearing, and somebody that has a balance of love and money. So this could also be a business partnership. We have 50,000 soulmates, in this lifetime and every other lifetime. They pop up, they resurface, they come up for air when we're on the same frequency as they are. So, whale represents, again, going beneath the surface. You may even find it helpful to take a shower, take a bath, clear your aura, burn some sage. We call it smudging. And that in itself, when you're in the water is healing. The water is a conduit. Where I come from, we say mini wakan, mini wachoni, which means water is sacred, water is life. All of us are comprised of, I think it's like 80% water, and we are surrounded by water before we're even born into this world. So, water is always going to be healing. I just heard something about rainbows in your water, excuse me, is going to be a sign. So if you don't live near a lake or an ocean or a river, turn on your tap. You're going to be really surprised. Turn on your tap and just close your eyes and put your hands in the water. I'm getting something about sensory healing. I've worked a lot with children who are on and off the spectrum. I work with people who are neurodivergent. I help them to express themselves when they are what most people would call nonverbal, with these kinds of cards. And it's a phenomenal practice just to see their eyes light up when they're being understood. They're not being compartmentalized. They're not being judged. They're not, oh, you're this far on the spectrum, this far off the spectrum. They're just, as my grandpa would call them, rainbow beings, angels with invisible wings who are here to remind us that we're all worthy of giving and receiving unconditional love. Okay? So, if you need to, get yourself in the bath, put some salt in the bath. Whatever toxic shiz and fizz you've been, collecting in your aura from the eclipse and all of that, it's going to go down the drain and you're going to feel it and you're going to exhale and you're going to feel better. Something about, that song, returning to the garden. Well, now you're returning to the river, you're returning to the water, and it's beautiful. Okay. So this area right here is saying to keep in mind. Okay. So again, our question is lizard, adapt and overcome. Main concern is dragonfly. What the heck did that sign mean that I was just shown? Main concern is, oh man, I gotta go deeper. What? How the heck am I supposed to do that? So when you get in the water, it does it for you. Okay. From there, we're making another diagonal all the way back to where Spider is. Now, Spider is the Iktomi is the gift of the dream catcher. So when you look at a spider's web, what do you see? Looks like a dream catcher, right? So spiders, spend time, usually at night, weaving a web. They have their intention in mind, but the spider doesn't sit at the center of her web. Because if she sits at the center of her web, whatever she's, trying to catch or connect with, what have you, is, going to be frightened away. So she makes her web in faith. She goes, she sits on the outside, and she trusts that whatever needs to land in her web is what's going to land. Now, the interesting thing is that Spider is a 43. 43 is a 7. We were just talking a minute ago about 7 generations. The elders that were praying for your success, your elders, your ancestors, 7 generations ago. If you don't know what 7 generations represent, look it up because it's very, very powerful. Okay? We just talked about rainbows in the water. Rainbows in where I come from have 7 bands in the rainbow. and they represent 7 generations. They represent the 7 sisters, which are also the Pleiades, more star people energy. It's all interconnected. It's all good. It's all beautiful. It's all irie, however you want to call it, right? Whatever works, works. Okay? So that card with Spider is advice or course of action. We started with our question. We went to the what the heck did that sign mean? We crossed over to the whale, which is, hey, go a little deeper, like Mama OD and Princess and the Frog. Sometimes you gotta dig a little deeper, right? Well, sometimes you gotta soak a little longer just to, remember who you really are and where you really come from, and the answers kind of float to the surface from there, right? So then you get to Spider. Spider is advice or course of action. What is Spider telling you? Spider is telling you, do not be afraid to weave certain pieces of what you're seeing together. It might be part of a dream and part of a sign that you saw and part of what someone else told you and part of a memory of somebody who you'd really like to hear from, right? It's all interconnected. And when you allow yourself to simply weave it together, then all you got to do is go sit on the outside of your web, be patient, and wait for whatever it is that you need, your missing piece, right, to land. Because from there, we're going all the way to the top. We're going to the swan. And the swan represents a state of grace. The fact that you were able to ask a question and keep your mind and heart open, the fact that you allowed yourself to remember whatever sign that you saw, you allowed yourself to go a little bit deeper, with the water, and then you came to the spider, you made your dream catcher so that all the good stuff comes in, anything that's not bounces off with the first rays of the sun, right? Now you're going to the top. Okay. Why? Because your ancestors want you to succeed at something that only you can do in the best way for the good of all. Most people know the story of the ugly duckling. This poor little duckling that was going around and fuzzy and, wonky looking and, sees all these beautiful swans, gracefully landing and all this other stuff and thinks that it's ugly. Well, the duckling was never ugly. It was just immature. It needed time. It needed space. It needed to, learn certain things and let go of other things in order to grow into who it was always meant to be, a state of grace, right? So you are now in a state of grace. I just heard, Hail Mary, full of grace, right? So your name may be Mary. That's not a religious reference. It's a reference to the Dakini. It's a reference to the divine feminine. It's a reference to the sacred feminine, okay? Sisters of the Rose, however you want to say this, right? Everybody is welcome on this channel. There's no judgment, but it's what is coming into your heart. Okay, so once you see that swan, it's like, okay, but all she does is glide on the water, and I'm trying to glide on the water, and I'm still feeling awkward here. What the heck's going on? And it's because we forget that not only are swans soulmates, not only do they mate for life, right? Not only do they only land in certain ponds, which is a lesson in discernment, but you're going to see that swan floating on the lake. And it looks like a Hallmark commercial and all that jazz, right? But if you look under the surface, that swan is pedaling like crazy. So even if you see these two swans that are gliding towards each other in this, TikTok moment and their necks meet and it makes the perfect heart and there's a full moon or, sunrise or sunset in the background, their feet are still kicking like crazy underneath. And part of what that tells us is not to judge other people by what we see on the surface. Because just because things may look easier for them doesn't mean they're not kicking like the dickens underneath the water, right? And again, there's your water. It's making sure that you're getting enough water. It's trying to stay close to the water, meaning the sacredness of water, the sacredness of everything that's connected, the sacredness of life. Even if it's something as simple as, I feel funky today. You know, if you're an empath, especially, I feel funky. There's a lot of funky stuff going on. Lions, tigers, and bears. Oh my, right? So you get yourself in the shower. You know, I forget who it was. I think it was the Toltecs. You know, called the point at the back of your neck your assemblage point, right? You get put together, all your parts are in order, and the soul goes in through that point at the back of your neck, aka soulmate, right? And so when the water hits that point, what does it do? If that's where your soul theoretically enters your body, right? Your soul that is a unique signature that nobody can duplicate, that AI can't duplicate. You know, no matter what anybody tells you trying to sell you whatever, right? His soul cannot be duplicated for a reason. So when you're standing under that water and you feel that healing pulse hitting that point at the back of your neck, and all of a sudden you start to remember who you really are and where you really come from and why you're really here and how you're supposed to accomplish this with Gracie's Joy and Lee Steppard and who you're meant to accomplish it with, you can relax. You can smile. Sometimes you even cry. And it's important to remember that the tears of a healer, the tears of a warrior, are never wasted because they water seeds for better hope, better days for tomorrow for everybody, right? So then you go to the center of the reading, and what do you see? The first thing, the past. Yes. Why? Because when we started this reading, you may not have been telling the universe yes. You might have been like, well, everybody else told me no. So maybe, right? Because you didn't know that you could choose yourself even if no one else was choosing you. Because rejection is divine protection. If people weren't choosing you, you were being protected in some way. I don't care if it was a family. I don't care if it was job. I don't care if it was politics. I don't care if it was the love of your life. If there was a pause between one miracle and the next, it's because you were getting ready for something that was in more alignment with who you're really here to be and help in ways no one else can but you. So now that you are saying yes to your happiness, you're saying yes to clarity, you're saying yes to trying new things, you're saying yes to trusting in the universe because you know that the word trust not only has the word you, but it has the word us. When you trust in you trust in us. When you trust in us, you trust in you. And that us not only represents the collective that are praying for you, even if you don't know it, but it represents your honorable ancestors, angels, spirit guides, teachers, you know, the little ant that crawled across your path, the hawk that just flew over you. That's what it represents. So when you can stand in the shower even and just be like, you know what? I've been saying no all this time. No, I'm not ready. No, I'm not good enough. No, I'm not this. No, I'm not that. No, I don't think the way everyone else is, and therefore I can't have success the way everyone else does. And you start crying because you remember. And you're able to look back on your life not as a series of bad decisions, but as a journey that took you everywhere you needed to go to connect with everyone you needed to connect with, to get every little piece at just the right time to sew a blanket of quilt, you know, a quilt of peace that, you know, your ancestors have been guiding all along. That water then becomes like a blanket and wraps around you. And it doesn't just wrap around you, it protects you from anything and anything that could ever want to harm you. That puts you into a whole new vibration. And that vibration is Jaguar. And Jaguar is a 51, which equates to a 6. And Jaguar represents divine feminine energy. It represents being impeccable with your word. It represents integrity, not just when you think people are watching, but when you think they're not watching too, right? It represents independence. I just heard I am woman, hear me roar. right? Um, but that sixth vibration is aligned with, guess which planet? Venus. So here we go again, you know? I'm your something, I'm your Venus, right? Goddess on the mountaintop. It's not just feminine. It's not just, it's not a gender thing. It's the divine feminine that's within you. We all have feminine masculine. We all have the nurturer. We all have the I just heard get her done, right? Get it done. Masculine energies. But if you look at that jaguar, Jaguar is nocturnal, so you might start feeling like your mojo doesn't necessarily kick in until 6 o'clock at night. And that's okay. Especially coming out of eclipse season, especially being in Aries season, the year of the snake, the age of Aquarius. This is a lot of stuff going on at once. But it's all good. It's all for the greater good. And as you say yes to who you are and why you're here, more and more magical things are going to happen that give you other pieces of the puzzle. And now you know that you don't go have to pay somebody $10,000 to achieve, ultimate enlightenment. All you got to do is step in the shower, take a bath, you know. If you're some, big tough warrior spec ops guy watching this, and you want to opt out of the bubble bath, hey, that's fine. If you want to put the bubble bath in there, I ain't going to tell anybody. Men got to take care of themselves too. That's why the veteran suicide rate is so high right now. I've been working with you guys for 20 years. I've had people come to me and start doing healing sessions and blab things that I'm going to have to be cremated when I go and they scatter my ashes on the Black Hills because there ain't a box big enough to hide all that or, contain all that. And that's okay. We all do the best we can with what we know and what we have until better intel and allies arrive. Because we stop saying no to our happiness and our peace, and we start saying yes. And that jaguar is nocturnal. It moves through the jungle at night, whether it's a literal jungle or a concrete jungle. It's stealth. It's not out there telling everybody what it's going to do before it does it so people can rob its joy and it doesn't get to where it needs to go. It's stealth. Each footstep is calculated, but it's not done in a way where it's tense. Because then, if it comes upon a situation, it's gonna, all the energy is gonna be gone. It's not gonna have anything to react, right? It's aware, it's alert, it's empowered, but it's relaxed. Knowing whatever happens, it's got trust. It's trusting in itself, it's trusting in its mission, it's trusting in its medicine, it's trusting in the collective people that are praying for it that it might even not even know, and it's trusting in the ancestors who have access to resources and magic that most of us can't even dream of. But when we do, opens a door to be able to bring it into the present and help even more. So our last card, before we get to the one on the bottom, is bear. And, I just heard bear with me, right? Lots of you been having to grin and bear it. And that's no fun. You see things on the news. It's like, well, what can I do? I just got to grin and bear it, right? You see things happening even closer around you. Well, I just got to grin and bear it, right? Well, there's a difference between BEAR and BARE. BEAR, for me is mama bear energy. That's fine. More power to you. You see something that ain't right, grin and bear it. That means you smile and you stand up like a mama bear. A bear may be more vulnerable when it's up on all hind legs, but most people are smart enough not to stick around long enough to figure out whether that bear is standing up in defense or is standing up to see further along the trail. It may represent, bear with me, as you are adjusting to these higher vibrations, these higher frequencies. When you're talking about 369, you're talking about Hertz rhythm, you're talking about Tesla energies, right? You're also talking about other frequencies. We have something called the shaman resonance. Sounds like shaman, right? That was at 7.2 and is now at 76. Any of y'all ever been on a tilt-a-whirl, or the park version of it, where the person's just spinning and spinning and spinning and spinning and spinning, and you don't know if you're going to fall off or throw up? That's pretty much what happened with the shaman resonance over the past like 2 weeks. So if y'all felt like you were dizzy, or you had a headache, or you felt like you were either going to fall off of something or throw up, guess what? You weren't the only one. If you got stuck behind some Yahoo in traffic that's, weaving in and out or whatever because they don't understand what Mercury in retrograde means, and, they don't understand that, the sun in Aries means that, everybody is raring to go. Everybody's fire has been relit after sleeping through Pisces season, most of us, right? Now you know. Now you know. But not everybody's gonna know. You can share this reading with them if you want, and then they're gonna know a little bit more. I would love for you to share this reading. I was just told, hop on and, flip the camera the other way and share what comes through your heart. Because we live in times right now where people are terrified to speak up. Why? Because they don't know how it's going to be received, right? And they forget, when you speak from your root chakra, or you speak from your, however you want to say, right, your ego, then, yeah, chances are may not be received in the best way because that person's going to hear it with their ego, right? But when you speak from your heart, what comes through the heart, what comes from the heart, always reaches the heart. It may not hit its mark immediately, but it plants a seed. And from there, you've done your job. It's not your job to make people feel a certain way, see a certain way, act a certain way, whatever. I mean, by all means, this is Child Abuse Awareness and Autistic Awareness Month and everything else. So you see somebody that is mistreating, a child on or off the spectrum. You see somebody going through SA or, any of those other things I talked about in the beginning, by all means, you speak up and you say something because you may be the only person that does. But in this world that we're living in right now where, people are more content to feign ignorance, like, hey, I didn't see it. And if I didn't see it, I don't got to do anything about it. Because this is all bigger than me. I can't do anything about it. All these chowderheads stinking up DC, I can't do anything about it. All these, whatever malfunctioning that I could, plug and restart, I can't do anything about it. That was before. Now, you're going to know how to pause. You're going to know how to reassess the situation. You're going to know how to adapt and overcome if need be. You're going to know how to look for the signs. You're going to know how to go beneath the surface, even if all you have is a glass of water. You're going to know how to, reweave the hoops so that you've got a new dream catcher that not only brings you what you need, but will protect you as an empath better than anything else. And it's all because you now know that you've always been in a state of grace. You were never lacking. You were never deficient. You were never not good enough. You were just maturing into the amazing person, advocate, healer, warrior, artist, teacher, caregiver, mediator that you were always meant to be. And that bear could be another 5. It could represent Big Bear. There's a lot of things that it could represent. You could need to go out and get yourself a teddy bear. If you dealt with horrible abuse as a kid and you couldn't find solace in adults and nobody really understands it, or people are trying to gaslight you or what have you, then go on, Amazon or go on my daughter's store and get yourself a teddy bear. Anybody gives you heck for it, send them over here. Let them watch this reading. I protected women and children at gunpoint when I was armed with nothing but faith. So if they want to go toe to toe with me as somebody that freed 2 Marines, hey, I always like to spar. I need to stay in shape too. But what comes from the heart reaches the heart. So I'd be willing to bet, $10. The next time you find yourself in a quote unquote conflict situation where one ego is trying to butt up against another like two rams in their horns, and it's typical Aries behavior. The rams either, smash into each other or they smash into the wall and then they complain to everybody else because they have a headache. Well, guess what? Aries season is represented by two things, represented by the ram and represented by the falcon. So if you're trying to bust down a wall and it ain't working, open your wings, get higher, see everything from a higher perspective that will bring you a higher resolution for the highest good of Mother Earth and all her children, no matter what anyone else tries to feed you. And that brings us to the card at the base, at the foundation, which is Om. Look at the word complain, highlight the word Om. There's no longer a complaint. There's a mismatch of energy, there's a difference of opinion, whatever it is. Put your hand on your heart, feel that drum, connecting you with your ancestors, and speak. You don't have to grin and bear it. You just got to speak from your heart. Communication, there's your Om. Diplomacy, there's your Om. Momentum, which contains the word mom and the word Om. Given a little grace to the moms, since yesterday was Mother's Day in England, United Kingdom, should be Mother's Day every day. Me doing this reading for a friend, as a fundraiser for mental health, sobriety. So, if any of you are in that situation or you've been in that situation or you've come out of that situation and you're able to donate even $5 as thanks for all of these beautiful messages that have come through, then it would mean a lot to me and it would mean a lot to them. You guys are all amazing. There's no accident that you tuned in here when you did. I have a feeling, based on the tingling I'm feeling in my hands and my heart, that this is not the last reading that I'll be doing like this. Like I said in the beginning, if you need my help with anything, finding missing persons or ghostwriting a book or, anything like that. I'm a triple Aquarius. I've done a lot. I know a lot of amazing people, and I'm more than happy to sit down and help you piece the rest and best together. And if I can't, I'm going to be honest with you, but I will help you to find an integral reference who can. Okay? So take a deep breath. I know this is a lot of information. Feel free to wind it back, watch it again, etc. I can feel a lot of people on here. Where the heck did this come? What kind of cards are, Bless your souls. So my prayers go out to all of you. Love y'all from the bottom of my heart. And I will connect with y'all again really soon. Have a beautiful day or night, whatever it is while you're watching this. Namaste, optimistic, and let's keep things moving forward in a good way.